Animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
The warm orange hue as the sun rises over the eastern boundary masks the freezing cold weather that we're having this morning. This is Safari Live. Good morning everybody and welcome to our sunrise safari. As I was saying, the sun is about to come up and it's a welcome sight on a rather chilly morning. It certainly is one of the colder mornings that we've had. Now, apologies for the slightly delayed start. A few little gremlins have crept in this morning, but hopefully that will be the last of them and that we have vanquished them for the rest of the drive. Now, my name is Tristan and on camera today I've got Sebastian, and remember this is a live interactive safari, so hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can use the YouTube chat should you want to get hold of us. Now, it seems as though Taylor is out and about with me. She's already seems to have found tracks for the Nkuhuma Pride, which is what we're actually looking for. I'm in the northwestern corner because I heard two Impala's alarm call, and that might sound very specific, but that is what it was. And so now I'm trying to just check in this area to see if there isn't any sign of these Impalas that we were looking for. We found a group of them, but it wasn't actually the Impalas that we're looking for. They sounded like they were a little bit further south, so we're going to just try and do a loop round quickly and head over that side. They haven't called again for about 5 minutes, so whatever they saw, they've missed and walked, either moved on or they were just misinformed, and they might have been alarming at something completely benign like a duiker or a Steenbok or something like that. There's a massive grouping of them actually just right here on my left hand side. So I'm just going to get into a position where we can actually see them a little bit better, because there's quite a few branches and leaves and various other things. There we go. No, Rusty, stop squeaking. Now, Rusty has been very squeaky this morning. Lots of dust in Rusty's brakes, I think, from all the wind and dust that we've had. So we'll have to just try and see if we can't sort that out. But you can see, typical of our most common antelope, they are much like us, probably not very warm at all. It is cold this morning, very cold, and you'll find that these guys are all puffed out, and you can see they look as though they've had a tough night. They've been a little bit jumpy. It's all sort of puffy and trying to trap air against the body and just try and really get themselves warm again. And I'm sure they're going to be happy to see that sun coming up just as much as what Sebastian and I will be. But a nice big mixed group. You've got males, females, youngsters, all inside. Lexi, you say you really hope to see a lot of elephants this morning. Well, Lexi, let's hope so. The ellies have been a bit scarce since the cold front hit on Friday. Prior to that, we really did have lots of ellies around, so hopefully we will have some elephants. I know Taylor had a big herd that was crossing into Djuma last night, so Lexi, let's hope. I would be quite happy to see lots of ellies as well, and it will be nice if the sun does come up and it gets warmer. Then we should have a situation where the ellies will be around and in full force. Actually, you can just see the sun is just starting to poke itself up at the moment, so it'll be, like I say, a welcome relief for everybody once it gets a bit warmer. You'll often find when it's very cold like this, things like elephants and the likes tend to be in quite dense bush, and then as that sun breaks, that's when you'll start to see them coming out to feed. So I'd imagine, Lexi, that the elephants will be a little bit later in the drive, that we'll start to pick them up, which is perfect. It's always nice to try and see if you can't find some of the predators when it's still cool like this, and then try and get to the bigger herbivores later in the morning when it starts to get warm and they start heading for water and food. Right, like I was saying earlier, Taylor is out and about. I think she already has had some luck in terms of trying to find the Nkuhuma Pride that crossed into Djuma last night. So let's go across to her so she can say good morning and tell us what she's been up to so far.
Good morning, everyone. It's freezing as I sat and do that. Senzo is doing this. It is that cold. You can tell by the pink cheeks. It's not because I'm blushing, but good morning again, everyone. My name is Taylor, and like I said, on camera with me is Senzo. There he is, and we are searching for lions. We haven't quite found the Nkuhuma Pride just yet, but we're on their tracks, and Aubrey's also on their tracks, so that's very, very exciting. Remember, this is happening right now, and we'd love to hear from you, so hashtag Safari Live, or you can chat to us via the YouTube chat too. Ooh, I'm just getting an update on the radio. Okay, so the tracks are going towards the Bellanites. Let me just jump on. on the radio to Aubrey once Tristan stops talking. We're going to start calling Tristan Taylor because he's starting to talk just as much as me. No, man. Tristan. I'm going to find a stick and hit him on the head with it because it's the lions. Alice, please tell Tristan that I'm desperately trying, but he keeps talking on the radio. Okay, well, we won't worry about tracks then. Interrupt him because he's supposed to be tracking leopards. Aubrey, I'm going to go straight down Philemon's cut line then and go along Gary Main just to see if they haven't crossed out already. Okay, alright, Alice, I managed to get hold of Aubrey just to let him know our plans. So, like as I said, I'm going to go straight all the way down Philemon's cut line. Those lions have obviously spent most of the night moving. It was very quiet, very, very, very quiet out here. There was not much going on even in terms of the hyenas, and we know that they're not shy to make a noise at all. I didn't hear not one whooping sound. I didn't hear any footsteps outside my room last night, and the lions, also unusual, we didn't even hear a lion roaring. So I think what the plan is to head all the way down to the boundary. Right, so this is also a very good area around here because we're on higher ground, and yesterday I was telling you it's quite nice to sometimes be on higher ground, especially when all the vegetation is thinning out. So we'll be able to spot animals moving, and even though the lions are pretty much the same color as the vegetation, I promise you would actually be able to spot them. So we'll be able to check, but Aubrey has said that the lions or the tracks are going towards the Balanites Tree Junction, which is down over there. So that's quite far away. That's why I said we need to actually take it a step further. Aubrey's got William, and he's a very good tracker, so that helps. His tracker sits on the front of the vehicle and is able to follow tracks a lot better than Tristan and I can in the cars, because we've obviously got this massive obstruction. So all we can do now is just keep jumping up ahead, and hopefully they haven't crossed out because they are edging closer and closer towards the boundary, which is not good for us. So we'll race. We're only going to stop at something if it's spectacular, because I want to make sure that if I'm going to track an animal, I'm not going to waste 2 hours chasing after something that's not even on the property anymore. I think that that's very important, because then we can start looking for other things and start planning other routes. So I'm just going to go, I'm not quite Ferrari safaring, but I'm going like the maximum speed you would go on a game drive with game. It always looks a lot faster on camera. I always sit and when I watch the show, I go, shoo, what are they chasing after wild dogs? And you're only doing 20 kilometers an hour, which is quite funny. I promise you, we don't actually go that fast unless we're chasing after wild dogs. That is the exception. But it's very icy out here. Hopefully it's going to warm up nicely, and we'll see what else we can find for you. Ah, okay. It seems as though Tristan has found the lion, so let's go across to him.
Well, I don't know if finding the lions is what just happened. I was coming around the corner because there was apparently tracks on Zoe's, and well, there was just a lion mess all next to the road, and I think they gave me more of a shock than they gave anybody else. So they can see that there is, the whole pride is here. There's one of the Birmingham boys is also with them. So isn't that cool to see? And I'm so happy that they're lying down here, because we're right on the boundary with Arethusa. We are probably from here, I would say 100 meters, and we'll be then on Arethusa, so, or maybe 200 meters. So the fact that they've lay here is really good news, and hopefully this is where they're going to continue to lie for the rest of the day. They certainly don't look like they want to go anywhere. They're all quite flat at this stage and very relaxed. Now I just quickly need to tell Aubrey where I am. Yeah, Orbs, if you just come to this open area north of Impala Plains, just on the northern side, closer towards the power lines, you'll find me right next to the road. So, well, that was easy enough. I was hoping that we would not have them crossing. I was telling Seb that we can only pray that they lay on one of these open sections, so here and then Impala Plains just to our south. Otherwise, they were going to be gone and into Arethusa. But how cool is this to see them all back here again? We certainly haven't had much of the Nkuhumas over this winter, so every time we get to see them is exciting. Michael, you're wondering if the animals call less when it's cold. Well, Michael, I'm not really sure. Not really, actually. I mean, we hear male lions calling, female lions calling when it's cold, male leopards calling. It doesn't really matter if it's cold. They still have to mark territory and still have to make sure that they are defending their area and keeping other predators at bay and keeping, you know, intruders out. So whether it's cold or not, they're still going to be calling and making sure that there isn't others around. What you will find though is that they're active a lot more than what they would be if it was warm. Obviously when it's hot, covered in the fur that they are, they tend to get too hot quickly and then they go and find somewhere to lie down. So when it's cold like this, you will find that they generally are a little bit more active. Although by the looks of this pride, they are not going absolutely anywhere right now. There's a few of the cubs are still looking around, and you've got Amber Eyes, which is closest to us, that has got her head up, and then that female there that's busy grooming. So Amber Eyes is this one with her head up right here. Is typical of hers, always watching what's going on and making sure everybody's looked after. But I think they must have got something last night, because the bellies of the cubs are fairly big, so you can see, look at that, and there's a bit of blood on the paws and blood on the face. So I wonder if they didn't get something small, maybe something like a Impala or a wildebeest could be, because not all the cubs have big bellies, but some of them definitely have quite large ones, and I'm not sure what they looked like yesterday. Obviously we didn't see them. They crossed in about 20 minutes after game drive finished, so they moved quite a bit last night, and they've done a big loop. They've walked around the central parts of Djuma and now right on the western boundary, so they have been walking a lot. Hopefully her moving is not a sign that these guys are going to start going somewhere, because Amber Eyes is always the one that moves a lot. And no, that's good, she's just going to the toilet. It's a good girl. She's moved away a little bit to go to the toilet so she doesn't go right next to all the cubs. Look how she's just listening. Kathy and Judy's mummy, you want to know, do oxpeckers land on predators? No. So they will not land on predators for two reasons. One is landing on a predator is basically a death sentence. You're going to end up in a situation where you're going to get eaten. And the second thing with landing on a predator is that there's very few parasites for them. Remember, predators are very good at grooming themselves, particularly something like a lion. They will spend hours grooming each other and themselves, and so the tick load and parasite load on a lion is so little that the oxpeckers really to take the risk to land on them to feed is not worth it in any way. So if you've had a domestic cat, you'll know that they hunt birds effectively, and even big cats like this, if a bird was close enough, they would grab them. I've seen lions killing Guinea fowl and francolins many times over the years, so it's definitely something that they do go after. Oh, look at the claws on this one. He's busy grooming his claws, the one closest to us. Or she, should I say. Look at the size of those paws already. And you can see the bits of blood that Seb was talking about just now. Seb spotted the blood on that paw just now. So just grooming in between all the claws, making sure that we get rid of any of that bits of gunk that might develop inside there. Now I see another lioness is just walking a little bit. I wonder if they're just going to be up and down. I hope not. I hope this is where they want to settle for the day, because if they move any further to the west, like I say, we're not going to have them for much longer. I'm trying to see the female that's got the hole in her tummy. I think she's the female at the back there. Patrick, the lion cubs will be weaned at about, I would say, about 8 months. They generally... Oh, is she peeing on the other one? She is. Oh no, that's not nice. That's not a nice way to start your day, that's for sure. I would not want to be peed on by a lion. But Patrick, the lion cubs will be weaned completely at 8 months. Sometimes a little bit earlier. You sometimes find at 6 months already the females are not producing too much milk. But 8 months is around the time. Now this Nkuhuma pride, these little ones, they're well over a year now. Remember that they were born in about May last year. So they've developed a little bit, and they are now getting very large, and they will no longer be on milk at all. You can see they're up and moving. I don't think we're going to have the Nkuhuma pride this afternoon, unfortunately. I think they're going to continue this movement. In terms of the Birmingham boy, I actually haven't looked at him enough to know who it is just yet. We'll see now as he turns, hopefully, and faces us. It's Mfumo. So that's nice to see. Mfumo, we haven't seen you for a while. Good to see you, big boy. And he's looking as healthy as ever, and you can see he's following the females now, so that's good news, and hopefully they will settle again. It doesn't look like they are. They're full bellied, so I wouldn't expect them to be walking too much unless they want water, in which case if they want water, the next place for water is Red Dam, which is inside Arathusa and is in a straight line basically from where we are now. I'm hoping that they're just trying to find themselves some shady thickets that they can then start lying in. Oh, hi Bacon, you want to know if it's true that if you stare at lions for long enough that they'll start to get agitated and growl at you. This particular pride, or in terms of the lions in the Sabi Sands that are fairly used to us and the vehicles that move around, no. I mean, you can sit and stare at these lions and most of the time they won't even bother with you. They might just look at you and then they'll just kind of flop down and not really worry. If you're on foot, yes, then that's a very different story. If you're on foot and you stare at them like that, they then tend to get quite upset, much like what you'll see with leopards as well. Leopards, when you're tracking them, if you walk straight past them, and even if they're very close, they'll often just flatten and they'll look at you and they won't worry too much. As soon as you pay attention to them, they'll then get far more aggressive because they've now been spotted. But look, the little cub is just sniffing the air. Now this is the little cub that's got quite deep amber eyes as well. So this one's got much darker eyes than what Amber Eyes has got, but they are still quite orange in comparison to some of the others. Like I say, I'm hoping they're going to just flop down under all these quarries. What we need is that sun to come up now and just to be warm, that these lionesses decide no, they're not going to move at all. What I'm going to do is just move slightly and we'll leave the cubs here. They'll come now, but the lionesses are moving in the nice big open clearing and the light should be hitting them shortly, so it will be really beautiful if we just try and stop and see. It seems as though they might have spotted something as well. I see the one lioness has got her head down and is just watching what's going on. The rest are all spread out all over the show at this stage. You can see here's a lioness in front. They definitely are moving towards the boundary, unfortunately. It's not ideal, but it's the way it goes. They're just saying hello to everybody that is out with us this morning. They, I'm sure, are as cold as we are, but very happy and excited to be seeing the lion. So you can see there she stands now. She's watching quite intently, so I don't know if she's spotted something. Hopefully, like I say, she is going to lie down somewhere here and that will be the end of it, and these quarries will provide the perfect shady area for them to spend their morning. But she certainly has got a posture of she's seen something. But isn't she beautiful? Look at those eyes, and body structure of the Nkuhumas is always amazing. They're big girls. I always see them and forget just how large they actually are. They really are big and muscular, and it's always a pleasure to see them. So, Lynn, the Birminghams, you're wondering if all Birminghams have mated with the Nkuhuma Pride. As far as I know, yes, they have. So you'll find that all of them have, but you'll find that Mfumo and Tinyo tend to spend a lot of time with the Nkuhumas. Nena and Nsuko every now and then, but Mfumo and Tinyo are ones that spend a lot of time. We find that Nsuko, he tends to be a lot with the Styx Pride and spends a lot of time down there and in the south, and Nena bounces around all over the place. But Mfumo and Tinyo mostly with the Nkuhumas, but they have all mated, as far as I know, with the varying different females. That's good. Lie down there. Well done. That's what we need. We need static lions. That certainly will make life much better for us. But I heard something in the distance, and I couldn't hear nicely because a vehicle started, but it sounded almost like leopard or lions fighting in the distance, and I saw all the lions looked immediately that way. So I'm not sure if it was an elephant or leopards going at each other, but there certainly was a noise that came from our south at the moment. Our lioness is up and moving again. Right, well, we're going to follow our Nkuhuma pride. We'll stay with them as long as we can. Hopefully they don't cross over, and while we do that, I believe Jamie is out in this beautiful sunshine of the Mara and wanting to say good morning.
A very good morning, and apologies, we are fashionably late this morning because, well, we had a little fire on the vehicle. Just a little one, nothing too serious, but look, more smoke, says Viam. A very good morning to all of you. My name is Jamie. This morning, Viam is on camera with me, and as Tristan has told you, we are coming to you live from the Masai Mara here in Kenya. Here's an animal that you won't see in South Africa. Oh, and he's posing so beautifully for us. Good morning, Mr. Eland. So never fear, although the flames did gently lap at the wires of our radio, we are on a different vehicle, so nothing too serious. There you go, an absolutely massive Eland bull to start off our morning safari. The largest antelope, and of course a member of the same tribe, essentially, as the kudu and the Nyala that you'll see so regularly in the Sabi sand. Just look at the dewlap on that guy. He is massive. You see some eland bulls out here that are the size of buffalo easily, if not a little bit larger. They can reach up to around about 900 kilograms at their largest, which is just over 1,800 pounds. A really, truly enormous antelope. And the extraordinary thing about them is they don't look particularly agile, do they? And I've seen an eland jump from a standing start and easily clear 6 feet in the air. They are very powerful jumpers despite their rather solid appearance. Good morning, mister. And look at that. A couple of days ago, this entire plain was just wildebeest. And now, all we've got is some topi. Good morning, Topi. I've been looking for the Coke's hartebeest to show you because I saw a brand new baby a couple of days ago on our way back from... Was it a rehearsal or a TV show? I honestly don't know. It blends into one, especially after being awake all night. But Viam and I saw a brand new baby Cokes. But they seem to have vanished. Now, our plan for the morning is we're going to go and find the wildebeest herd. We found them the other night, but unfortunately they were so far south towards Tanzania that it made signal impossible for us. But we're going to go and see whether or not any of them have wandered slightly closer to us. Nikki, very good morning to you. You'd like to know, let me just take this out of low range. You'd like to know if we miss Rusty and Wendy. Definitely. Not that we don't love, this is Paka. This is actually Scott's vehicle. Mila's mine, in theory. Mila is the one that caught on fire, slightly. More of a melt and a bit of a smoke. And Kito is Brent's, because it's slightly larger and has the possibility of a winch in the front. We all decided as a group that Brent was the most likely to need a winch. Yes, we miss Rusty and Wendy. I miss the quietness of their engines and their small size. I mean, you're just more maneuverable. We're much longer now. But, having said that, Mila, the other night, and Kitu, served us very well in the mud. I mean, Viam and I were driving sideways for a large portion of Friday night, and there was mud all the way back up on our antenna at the back. So, the fact that we didn't get stuck, I think, is testament to... We've had our struggles, but that's what builds the bonds with the vehicles. The number of hours spent fixing them. You become quite attached. And, as it happens, quite possessive. I'm not sure how Scott would feel. Scott is away for a few days. I'm not sure how he would feel about the fact that I'm driving his car. Possibly better than if Brent was, but don't tell him I said that. Well, nothing's ever close in this particular area. We've got the vast open spaces, and I've got a long way to go before I get to where I want to be. So let's go back across to Tristan and the Nkuhuma cubs.
Well, as you can see, look how beautiful this is. Amber Eyes is sitting in the long grass with the light behind her. And it is a magical scene that we are witnessing. And hopefully this is now where they're going to settle. They seem to have decided to lie down. The rest of the pride hasn't really followed Amber Eyes and this other female, and so we're in a situation where everyone's going quite static now. So hopefully that's what it's going to happen. You can see in the distances where the rest of the pride is, up towards the sunrise over there. So there's the odd female. So Seb says the male is walking somewhere there. I also just can't see. Oh, there he is. I can see him. He's right behind a stump. So he's lying down now, so don't worry. But yeah, he's behind there. In that, there you can just make out his mane in that really bright morning sunshine. So there he is, just in the distance. It looks as though he's getting quite settled. So hopefully, this is everybody just finding a place. Now that the sun is up, I'm really hoping that it gets warm enough that the lions just start to relax a little bit, and we end up with them lying down and resting. Although they look as though they still want to move. You can see there's intent in their eyes this morning. Every time there's sound, you find that they look in that direction. So I don't know if they've picked up on something or they've heard something that they want to keep moving this way. Not 100% sure at all. I also would imagine that if they've eaten something, water is going to be a priority, and water would be, like I say, close on Arethusa. Megan in Texas, you say, with this pride having so many cubs and the pride getting bigger, is there a chance basically of a break apart or a breakaway section or split from the Nkuhuma pride so that they can get enough food? Well, Megan, it's possible. 11 is not a huge pride. It's not massive in any stretch of the imagination. You'll find that there's much bigger prides that we see in the Kruger Park system. If you go towards the eastern part of the Kruger Park, it's not uncommon for the prides there to get to 40 sometimes. So 11 is really not that large, and I would imagine that this pride will stay fairly close together. I don't think we'll see a split of the pride in the near future. 11 lions, while that is a lot of mouths to feed, it means it's still possible. As long as they're getting nutrients every now and then and they're making the odd buffalo kill, they'll be able to feed themselves. Plus those 11 lions, they've got these 1-year-olds that are already eating a lot, and so they're managing just fine with them. I don't think we'll see a split anytime soon. Like I say, I think they'll stay together. Once you start seeing the prides going over 20, that's when you can start thinking about them splitting due to lack of resources in terms of food and being difficult to hunt and find enough for all the mouths in the pride. But below that, generally the prides do okay. It's interesting though, because the Solala pride, which is in the central parts of this Sabi sands, they seem not to like to be in big groupings at all. They keep splitting all over the place. So we know that there's the Solalas, the Solala breakaways, the Mangens, the Mangen breakaways, and they're all from the same family. So there's over 40 of them in total, but at the end of the day they just keep splitting up into smaller groups. So maybe we'll see it, but I don't think so with the Nkuhumas. They seem to be very well bonded and always together. Right, now Miss McCurdy was tracking these very lions on the other side of the property, which just goes to show how far they've moved. And so let's go across to her and see what her updated plan is for the rest of the morning.
Have not got a plan today. We are just going to drive until an animal walks in front of the vehicle, or unless we spot one in the distance. I've checked Treehouse Dam, I've checked Twin Dam. There's no sign of any predator, barring hyena tracks. But we're about to go through the Mulwati dip. I think we might go up Ledwood Road, maybe check Mamba, then come down Cheetah Cut Line, and perhaps we'll go and explore around Chitwa. Again, I haven't quite, like I said, haven't decided, haven't really got a plan, so I'm flexible this morning. We can change. It's miserable. It is so cold. I haven't even seen a bird other than the Egyptian geese this morning, and even they looked like they were a bit nervous to dip their toes into the icy cold water. Everyone was just sort of standing on the side, fluffing themselves up. And this morning I wish I had down feathers. I'm a bit envious of those Egyptian geese and the rest of the water birds. I think that on a day like today they must be feeling quite nice and warm. But let's go up Ledwood. We might as well. I can hear a nervous Franklin. Let's go up a little bit further. Now, these Franklins are becoming like the squirrels, hard to trust. Because remember yesterday morning when there was that one that was sitting about this far off of the ground. acting as if it had seen a leopard. So we know that it didn't, because, well, sitting half a meter off the ground is not really going to do you any good. Let's see if we can figure out where it is. It could be lots of raptors. I know there's a pair of battalier eagles that live around here too, so they could also be panicking for that. It has stopped panicking now. I can't hear it anymore. Let's just check here for any tracks. No, that bird must be further into the thicket. Now, Lara, are you wondering, where do the painted dogs hang around? Wherever they want, really. There's no specific spot. The dogs travel huge distances, and they can basically travel between let's even start Cheetah Plains and Koro, Torchwood, Chitwa, Little Gowrie, Hoffman's, Djuma, Arethusa, Tsimambili, and all the places in between that I've forgotten to mention. If they really wanted to, within 40 minutes. I remember that the one day they were here on Djuma and they ran past Cheetah Cut Line, and 20 minutes later they were about to cross into Mala Mala from the most southern corner of Cheetah Plains. So it's so difficult. They're constantly moving around all the time. They're just following food again. I haven't heard any reports of wild dog sightings, so I'm not sure whereabouts they're hanging out, if they're further north of us or if they're further south of us, but we'll keep an ear open. Today could be a good day maybe to see some dogs. That's why I'm keen to explore Chitwa. But let's go back across to Miss Jamie Patterson, who's now changed her plans from looking for wildebeest to trying to find some leopards.
Well, there's a bit of a story behind the change in plan. Obviously, we're always trying to find wildebeest out here, which is sometimes easy and sometimes harder than you expect. But the story goes, Liam and I went out for the Thursday, yes, it was the Thursday night, and we saw a giraffe standing staring. You know how giraffe do when they've seen something, staring into this tree line. And we stopped and we had a look, and I eventually, Liam actually, spotted this cat-like figure at the base of the tree. And we realized it was a leopard, and we got very excited because obviously leopard sightings are slightly rarer out here. And we got very excited. I flagged down the next car, and he didn't seem very excited by the fact that we had a leopard, and he instead raced off. And I drove forward about 5 meters and realized there were 20 cars already parked here. They'd obviously seen the leopard. And we stuck with it, and eventually realized that there were not one, but two, but three leopards hanging out all together around here. And they unfortunately were quite skittish, but there were several vehicles around. And I'm hoping maybe if it is a female with cubs, makes the most logical sense, there being three of them. What upset you? Was it a leopard? I'm hoping they might still be here. Angry hardy-dars. I think you all know the story of why hardy-dars make that sound. It's because they're really afraid of heights. They're really afraid of flying. And they spend their whole time when they're flying going, ah! Okay. This is the perfect place for hidden leopards. I cannot believe we haven't seen them here before. We basically drive along this area every single day. Lisa, I actually honestly haven't seen enough leopards to answer that question. Lisa would like to know if leopards seem to be bigger in the Mara. I don't think enormously, no. I don't think there's much of a size difference. I think what you'll probably find... What you got there, Vim? Where are we looking? Oh, well, I think it's safe to say there's no leopards here. I think that you'll probably find that around prime areas, around the river, the leopards will be slightly larger because the competition is more fierce for territory, and they'll be smaller in the slightly less desirable areas of the Mara, if there is such a thing, away from the rivers. Good morning, baboons. Look how fluffy they are. Now, it does, of course, get exceptionally cold in Djuma. It doesn't quite get as cold here, but on average, the temperatures are much, much lower in this particular part of the world. And what that means is that everything is fluffier. Hyenas, baboons. especially the hyenas and baboons. Aww. Mita, our 8-year-old viewer. Good morning, Mita. Lovely, as always, to hear that you are watching. Mita says we'll get 1,001, not even just 1,000, 1,001 brownie points if we find a leopard. Well, I better get on then. I want those brownie points. Tristan, of course, has already earned his with the Nkuhumas.
Well, that is the beautiful gaze of amber eyes. The youngest female has now walked, and I think she must be very close to the boundary because she's just pushing and forging west, which is keeping the rest of the pride moving as well. So they keep moving and then lying down, moving and lying down. So if one of them just lies down properly, and they should then all settle. But as soon as one moves, you're going to have a situation that they're going to follow each other, which is not really ideal because we want them to stay for as long as possible on Djuma. I know it's selfish, but it is the way it is. We enjoy spending time with the Nkuhuma pride, and it would be really nice just to have them here for longer than a quick half hour or hour in the morning. I certainly love to see them spend a lot of time here like they did last year. What have you seen, Amber Eyes? That's it. Look that way. That's the better way to walk. She's seen something for sure. I don't see anything though. Unless that other female's moving just to get around whatever she's seen. But something caught her gaze very quickly as she went from flat to moving quite fast. Magical, you want to know at what age do the cubs get to referred to as sub-adults? I suppose now, actually. Now they should be sub-adults, anywhere between just over a year and 2 years up until they reach sexual maturity, which is generally in the females around 3.5, and then you'll find the males is about the same. So sub-adults will be used for them fairly shortly. We can not really call them cubs anymore. They are getting massive. See, here come some of the cubs now. Well, actually the sub-adults. Let's start from today. We'll start calling them sub-adults today. But hopefully here comes the rest, and actually that's one of the adult lionesses that's coming. So I would imagine Mfumo will be on his way shortly. Now Amber Eyes has decided whatever it was is not worth it, and up she goes as well. So this is them moving towards the boundary, unfortunately. I was hoping that something would have piqued their interest further away, that they would have gone back into Djuma. Because now the time is when you need a wildebeest or a zebra to arrive, because that will make life a lot better for all of us. It will certainly bring these lions deeper in. You can see that lioness is also looking in the same direction that Amber Eyes was looking. I wonder if she's not spotted something. No, she's also decided not worth it, and that's the female that's got that eye injury. So you can see her different coloured eye on the right hand side. Well, it's not an injury, it's just it looks like a glaucoma that's developing over that eye. It doesn't look as milky as it once did. It used to look very milky, but now it seems to be okay. Look at that beautiful golden light. Isn't that pretty? Hello, girls. I'm pretty sure we'll see the male coming shortly. He's not going to let these females too far out of his sight. Ali, you want to know if there's a meaning behind the name of Amber Eyes? You mean other than the fact that she has amber eyes? So that's why she's called Amber Eyes, is because her eyes are amber. There's no other hidden meaning there. That's just because of the eye color itself. So here comes some waddling cubs now as well. Look how fat they are, Seb. It's very cool to see. So they're just coming through that little thicket, but they are waddling. They are not walking at all. His bellies are swinging from side to side, and kind of legs are opened up a little bit just to be able to allow for those bellies to move. It's like when lion cubs get fat. They always look so funny when they walk. Although, like I said, they're not cubs anymore. I keep calling them cubs, but it's just habit, I suppose. But they are definitely no longer cubs. If you look at the size of them, They're starting to resemble adults as well. They've got these serious looks about them. Noses are starting to go darker, and size-wise, they're getting very big. A few nicks in the ear already. So we've often talk about how to age cats, and we say that nicks in the ears and colors of noses are indicative of their age. Hello, girl. So we've got a lioness walking right next to the car, as you can see there. She's the one with the hole in the tummy and the scrape on the ear, which seems to be okay. It doesn't seem to be too bad. I looked at this morning and it seems as though it was all right. There wasn't too much damage that I could see there. There come the rest of the cubs. The littlest one at the back. Interesting, their eye colors. Some of them have these deeper amber eyes, and then others the very pale yellow that we see in the adults. So it's an interesting difference in the colors. There's the amber-eyed one coming through. Isn't this beautiful though, with the light? Incredible. I still don't see Mfumo coming. He seems to be still resting. Hopefully he decides he's going to stay here for the day, although I would be very, very surprised if he doesn't follow and move into this direction. No, he's not coming with, so let's carry on and try and catch up with the rest of them while we still have them. Well, Rez, you want to know how we identify individual lions. Well, it's a lot harder than identifying leopards because you don't have a spot pattern that you can follow nicely around the face. You've got a few whisker spots that you can use, and then tears in the ears, eye color, what else do we use? Body shape, any indicative scars. So with Mfumo, that scar underneath his right eye is very indicative of him, and that's basically what we'll use, is those sort of IDing features. But these guys are going to cross now in the next 5 minutes, I would say. Not even. I wonder if Mfumo is going to come, if it's not just worth waiting for him to come past. Because I saw he had his head up as I went past there. Let's have a look now if he's coming. Don't see him now, but he did have his head up. He was looking in this direction, and I'm sure once he realizes he's been left behind, oh, there he is, I can actually see him. He's just lying down in the distance looking straight in this direction. Buddy, you're being left behind. You're going to have to make your way. Now you can hear the impalas are alarm calling at these lions. The impalas are just south of us, and that's what these lions are obviously watching, was the impalas coming out of the bush. He is... Can you see him there, Seb?
No.
There, he's walking towards you now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's coming straight this way. I knew he wouldn't stay back for too long. At the end of the day, females are always an attraction for males, and so they're not going to allow the females to get too far away before they start coming. So Mfumo is just probably wants to sleep and doesn't want to move so much, but I think Nkuhuma's moving. He's got to get up and start striding as well. But he's looking really good. His mane is filling out and becoming more and more of an impressive individual, and with his scars and his cuts and scrapes, he becomes really quite a menacing lion. You'll find the Nena and Nsuko are pretty lions, but Tinyo and Mfumo have all these scars and really look like big bruising male lions that have gone around the block and have had to fight their way to dominance, which is always nice. A character-filled lion is how they should be, or particularly wild lions. They should be character-filled and scars and scrapes, and for me anyway. Sierra, you say, would it be appropriate to call the cubs yearlings, or is that just for cattle? Yeah, they don't refer to them as yearlings here in terms of the cats. Cats are generally cubs, sub-adults, and then adults. There's very seldom you'll hear the word yearling for a cat species. You generally only hear it for antelopes and the likes. Right. Where the rest of the pride is a nice dense thicket, so let's try and see if we can't keep up. It's going to be an interesting one to try and keep up with these guys. We'll try our very best, and hopefully they're going to lie down before they get to the main road, but I don't hold too much hope. The fact that they've walked right past these impalas and are not too worried about the impalas alarm calling at them, and that they're not moving back in this direction, would suggest that they're not really too concerned by what's going on. Just trying to see where's the best way is to get through here. Follow Aubrey. Aubrey will know. He's spent more than enough time in this particular area, so he should know this place better than anyone, really. The problem is there's a little drainage and lots of thickets, so they might lie inside there if they decide that they're feeling a little on the tired side, but I think they're off for water. That's really where they're going, so that's why Red Dam is the next stop, I would imagine. It's going to be a lot like what we've seen, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then eventually get there. Now I'm going to try and see if I can't just find them one last time for one last look before they cross over and out of our area. While we do that, let's go back to Jamie in the Mara and see where she is and whether she's had any luck with those spotted cats.
No luck with my spotted cats. I've got a stripy animal up ahead, but that's about all that I have to report. As for telling you where I am, well, wait, what is that? Oh, shame. Is that another lost little one? As for telling you where I am, well, I'm wandering along the escarpment, essentially, towards the south, towards Tanzania. Oh, it's a hyena. Of course it is, in this area. Wait, come back! Don't leave. Oh, my goodness. It's a dashing hyena. So fast. Wait for me. Bye. There are so many hyenas in this place. No, wait. Oh, there's no brakes. I got no brakes. Forgot about that. Okay, we'll just use the gears. Oh, bye-bye, hyena. I'm sorry, everybody. There you go. Yes, hello. Where were you running off to? What have you found? These hyenas are just having a field day at the moment. Wildebeest carcasses everywhere. This place is actually quite smelly right now. And plenty of mud wallows to go and lie in after all of that rain that we had. I actually wish we had cameras inside the vehicles to videotape, nobody videotapes anything anymore, to record the experience that VM and myself had in the rain. It must have looked hilarious from an outside perspective, trying to protect the equipment. Now, there's a hyena den around here. They'd like to spend a lot of time around these culverts. My guess would be that they're part of the mountain clan rather than the north clan, but to be honest, I don't really have any kind of idea. They're right in between our other hyena den up towards the mountain and the North Clan hyena den. There we go. Now you're coming out. Hello. Still plenty of grass around. Nothing like what it was before. It has at least been reduced sufficiently to make driving off-road at night a little bit less scary. Just a little bit. Okay. They like to den around the culverts here. Well, I don't know if it's a den or just a nice sleeping place. Uh-oh. Anna-Marie, lots of things have surprised me since going to the Mara. Many, many things. The sheer scale of the migration, and I know that sounds really stupid because rationally, does Pucker always smoke this much? Okay. Okay. Just a little concerning. Sorry, Anna-Marie. Surprises. There we go. How fluffy the hyenas are is one. Oh, no brakes. Keep forgetting. Here we go. The sheer scale of the migration. I know rationally that there are lots of wildebeest involved in the Great Migration, but actually seeing them is an entirely different story. To actually experience it in real life, it's beyond a scale that I could possibly imagine. The strange, seemingly nonsensical to my mind, movements of the wildebeest and the zebras also surprised me. That backwards and forwards crossing of rivers, seemingly for the sake of it, when there's plenty of grass somewhere else. And yet that herd mentality takes hundreds of them crossing one way and then a couple of them crossing exactly at the same place in another way. That surprised me. The scale of the lions hunting in the migration. Oh, speaking of lions, let's quickly go across to Tristan because he's going to give you one last look at the Nkuhumas.
Okay. Well, the Nkuhuma Pride is crossing now. This is the last lioness that went over the boundary, and she's mobile, still west, and Mfumo is about to come over shortly. So this will be the last visual we'll get of them, unfortunately. For now, they'll hopefully come back in the next couple of days. We know that they often do go into Arathusa, spend a day or two there, and then they start coming back to Djuma side. So hopefully that will be the case. But what we need is some buffalo to cross from Arathusa to Djuma. That will certainly motivate the Nkuhumas to come back at some point soon. But at least we've had a nice view of them. We got to spend a little bit of time with all of them and see them straight off the bat. You can see she's contact calling a little bit. I think she's lost the rest of them. Some of the females moved a little bit south of where she is into a very dense thicket, and I don't think she can actually see them anymore. So she's in a situation where she's just looking around. So I'm going to go forward quickly because I can see Mfumo just lying down here. So we'll just try to get forward so that you can see. He's not lying down, he's standing, should I say. So he's looking very majestic up on his ridge. There he is there. And typical of the males, just watching the females as they move around and sees where they go. So there he is. I wonder if they haven't spotted something, because everybody is very, very still and on sort of high alert. They're watching very carefully into this drainage. So you could find that maybe there's some kudu or something like that that they're busy looking at. Surprised that the cubs came over as quick as they did. I didn't think they would have crossed by the time we came round, but I suppose we waited for Mfumo, and that means the rest of them must have come across between the period we waited. Sean, you want to know how long some of the male lions have been in power of the prides? Well, here in this northern part, these Birmingham males have been in control since 2015. So they're now approaching 2 years, just under 2 years, that they've been dominant in this particular section of the park. And here comes all the cubs as well. They're all crossing. I thought they hadn't crossed in the time that we came round. And you can see they're all starting to come across now as well. So they've only been this short span of time that they've been in power. But if you think of the Majingalans came in 2011. Well, actually 2010 is when they first arrived here. And they were dominant all the way until now. So they now still dominant in the western part. So that's 7 years that the Majingalans have been here, just under 7 years now. It's a long, long time to reign. It's much longer than the average. Generally, male lions will only on average be dominant males for sort of 5 years, particularly in an area like this where we have big coalitions regularly. We've had the Matimbas, we've had Majingalans, Mapokos, all of these big coalitions, and that means that the lions' tenure as dominant males tends to be quite short. But that's it, I'm afraid. That is the last of the Nkuhuma Pride that is now across the road, and that is the last that we're going to see them for this morning. Wonderful surprise nonetheless, and really nice to have seen them, and hopefully they will come back in a few days. I know Taylor's been missing them terribly, and it was just a matter of us getting lucky. We just heard some Impala's alarm call and went in that direction, managed to bump into them. So hopefully they will come back and Taylor will get a chance to spend a lot of time with them, because I know she loves lions and really would like her to get to see them again. And there they go, they're just disappearing slowly behind the bush and deeper into the thickets. Now, talking about Taylor, Taylor is still around. She's still driving and checking and seeing what there is. So let's go across to her and see what she's been up to and whether or not she's managed to find anything this morning.
No, not really. We had a pretty cool sighting of Nyala bulls, which was quite nice. They'd actually been fighting, and the one had quite a serious wound to his shoulder, which is actually unusual to see, because Nyala are quite placid antelope, unlike, of course, the Steenbok or even the bushbuck, waterbuck, pretty aggressive when they fight, but very quiet out here. And unfortunately we can't go to the dam because there are guests still sleeping at Chitwa. So I'm not really sure where we're going to go or what else we're going to find. Like I said, we're just sort of bumbling, absolutely loving the freezing cold. It's my favorite, so nice. And yes, we're just really going to drive and see what else pops out in front of us. Now, Abigail from Canada, you're wondering what is the most endangered species? I think just in Africa in general. Well, in terms of animals that we can see here while we traverse in the northern Sabi sand, southern ground hornbills, which is quite a large bird species, that's quite a rare one. Wild dogs, which we were talking about earlier and we're always on the search for, they're definitely up there. And of course, well, there's a couple of vulture species, pangolins, the pangolins or armadillos, they're the most poached animal in the world. So there's quite a few different ones, but out of the carnivores, the most endangered carnivore is the Ethiopian wolf. Obviously we don't get the Ethiopian wolf over here though, but there's lots. But it would be nice. I heard the southern ground hornbills again this morning, but I couldn't quite pinpoint where they were, and I'd love to see them. Hi, guinea fowl. We'll have a look at some of the helmeted guinea fowls, which are not exactly endangered. They're all over South Africa, and they like to inhabit sort of parks and things and cities. You see them all over. So that fence that you can see in the background, that's just one of the lodge fence that goes around Chitwa. We're actually sitting on the airstrip at the moment. And I think that they're also just trying to keep warm. Everybody seems to be quite fluffed up at the moment. The birds are only just starting to wake up now. The dawn chorus was definitely quite late this morning, or as Jamie said, fashionably late. And don't blame them for not wanting to get out in this cold. But this is a good spot that they've got. They're directly in the sun. It's nice and sheltered. There's actually not a breath of wind today. It's fairly pleasant when you are stationary. And normally they live in bigger groups than this. They might join up with some more. They don't normally hang around for very long. They're actually quite shy. In South Africa, a lot of people do shoot these birds. We don't shoot the animals here, though. They are completely free to roam in the wild and not have to worry about humans hurting them. We try and protect all these animals as best as we can. There's also some, look like maybe some Natal spur fowls running at the back. But I like watching the guinea fowls. They're quite funny, they're quite comical, especially first thing as the sun starts to set, before they're ready to roost. I don't know why, they like the hippos. They get so excited that they chase each other around, and that's normally when they're the most entertaining to watch. And then they've also got a relatively beautiful call. Not at 3 o'clock in the morning, though, outside your room. I can tell you that's not particularly pleasant, but otherwise it's a nice sound to hear. A very iconic African bird. There's a little turtle dove that was also moving around in the grass behind them. Now they're just pecking, they're looking for seeds, they'll also eat insects, they eat a variety of different things. And one of my favorite things to see them do is to dig in animal dung, particularly in rhino middens. And they scrape around, kicking up all the dung, trying to find insects. They do it with elephant dung as well on the road. That's a good way to gauge how fresh dung is. They'll normally do it sort of when it's at its most moist, and it sounds ridiculous, but that's when the insects will also be going onto it to try and get some of that moisture out of the dung, and these birds know that. So they'll go through and scrape scraping it like chickens, really. They behave like chickens. They're like the bush chickens. Them, or the guinea fowl, the spur fowls, the franklins, they all do the same thing. Forage down on the floor, roost up in trees at night, and so the cycle continues. But I haven't really seen any predator tracks other than, again, hyena tracks. Lots of them going up and down. I got excited at one point. I thought I saw a wild dog track, but it wasn't. It looked like it was just maybe a juvenile hyena that had been running about. And that's really all. Chitwa seems to be on the quiet side today. But let's carry on. Let's go see what else we can find. Now, William, you're wondering if people eat guinea fowl. Definitely in the local communities just surrounding the reserves, well, actually in the whole of South Africa and Africa, they're considered a delicacy. They're not, I don't think that they're particularly nice, though. I find the meat quite tough. But the best way, if you are going to cook a guinea fowl, is to sort of make a pie or a stew of some sort. Let's see, we've got some hornbills having an argument. Let's see if they're going to stay in the road. We'll stop a little bit away ahead, just up in front. Yes, they are too. What's going on with the two of you? Two red-billed hornbills. What are the two of you doing? It doesn't look particularly aggressive, does it? They're sword fighting with their beaks. Now be careful, those beaks are sharp. I don't know if they just sort of a bit upset with one another, or if it was just a friendly sort of battle. Because now look, it's like nothing even happened. The one on the right is gone. I'm going to dig in the sand now. You leave me alone. And they're quite gregarious, so it's not uncommon to see lots of different individuals in one group. And you can often see, well, 3 different species of hornbill in one sighting. The yellow-billed, the southern red-billed, and then sometimes even the African grey will pop on by. What are you digging for in there? Just lifting up leaves, I think, at the moment. I don't know how many insects will be out and about in this weather. I think it's going to be quite tough for the insect eating bird, the birds that prefer eating insects. Sorry, that almost sounds terrible. And they might have to wait a bit until the day warms up before they start to get grasshoppers jumping around. Or it could be an easy meal for them. If they manage to find where the insects have perched themselves for the evening, you know, on the leaves perhaps, or on stems, then it will be quite easy. And there's another one. You haven't got anything in your beak. Right, let's go across to Tristan very quickly, who has got a nice little antelope to show you.
We do. So from big hungry lions to our smallest antelope, well, a big male in his world, but a small antelope in terms of everybody else. So it's a nice relaxed Steenbok male, and is, I think, probably frozen cold, and that's why it hasn't run away, which is quite a surprise. Generally, the Steenbok are very shy and very reclusive, and as soon as they see us stopping, they're off and gone. But this particular one is just letting us view it, and I think is enjoying a bit of sunshine and warmth to start the day. It's certainly probably one of the best views of Steenbok we've had in a long time. Nice to actually get a good look at everything. You can see those massive ears that they have in relation to the size of their head. Very similar to kudu in that regard. But the reason why these guys have it is not because they spend time in thickets. Steenbok actually spend most of their time in quite open grassland. The problem is that grass grows taller than what they are. And so big ears are needed to be able to hear what's going on and hear any predators coming their way. So they have these long ears and lots of fur, which funnels the sound deep down and make sure that they hear better. Then they've got those very sharp, straight horns. You can imagine those can do quite a bit of damage when they clash, and Steenbok do fight quite a bit. We saw one chasing another one the other day very briefly, so they will go after each other because they are highly territorial animals. So Steenbok you wouldn't think are territorial, but they are. Oh, a bit of breakfast in the sunshine. Nothing wrong with a bit of grass that's been regurgitated to rechew. I always love watching ruminating animals. Watch how fast the grass goes up and down, or whatever they've eaten, the vegetation, whether it be a giraffe or something like a Steenbok. Watch how quickly it goes down the throat when they swallow and back up again. It's amazing. And the reason why they do this is they chew, they're grinding down that food item, They then swallow it and it goes into the stomach, and the ball of cud that they've got, those tiny little bits that have been chewed will then float off the ball in the stomach contents, and they'll then digest that, and then the ball will come back up until all of it is chewed up. But did you see how quickly it goes down and up? Isn't that cool? It's not something we get to see that often, particularly in a species like this. Now, I really do enjoy Steenbok. They're a very intelligent little animal. There's a lot of things about them that is quite unique. They are very tolerant of dry conditions. So last year's drought, this was an animal that thrived. We saw them all over the place. They wouldn't have worried too much, and that's because these guys are able to find water and even nutrients in the most desolate of areas. You'll find them in the Kalahari Desert. They're able to maneuver themselves around and find food there. As long as they can get access to dew in the morning, so whenever you have a cold morning and there's a little bit of dew on the grass or the leaves, they will make use of that, and that's where they get their water requirement. And then they are quite selective feeders. They know that there's certain plants that will be able to sustain them, and because they're quite small, they don't require huge amounts of food in a day, and that ruminating ability allows them to regurgitate what little food they do find, and they're able to maximize every bit of nutrients out of it. So it's a very clever system that they have. So, Roshni, you want to know, of the antelope that we get in the Sabi sands, which of the females have horns? So the wildebeest is one. Let's try just go through all of them quickly. So the wildebeest and the sable, but we don't see sable very much, so that's not really a utilizable one. And that's it, as far as I can think. Duiker, Steenbok, Nyala, Kudu, Bushbuck, Impala, they all have, only males have horns. Who else is out here? That's all I can think of right now. Giraffe, they have horns. They're not really, I suppose, an antelope. Buffalo both have, buffalo, the females have horns. That's part of the antelope family. I suppose we could extend it towards elephants as well as the herbivorous animals. They also have not horns but tusks. But that's it. So it's just those wildebeest, buffalo, and sable, and the elephants and giraffe actually that also have females with horn structures. Shamsan, you want to know if Steenbok have glands on their face and if we could see them, and whether they are called pedicles. Now, they don't have the same structure as what we see on a klipspringer. So klipspringer have very prominent glands on their face that you can see and that they mark with extensively. These guys don't have the same thing. They will have pre-orbital glands though, so not the pedicle glands. They'll have pre-orbital glands, and they'll then rub those on them. So you'll find them in a lot of the antelope. It sits just below the eye, but in a Steenbok it is so small and minute, it is almost impossible to see them. So even that male there, you can see the gland just below the eye there. It's very difficult, but there's a little darkening just below the eye, and that's where that gland sits, and that's how they mark. So you'll see that gland in most of your antelope species. There it is, just below the eye. There's a little black line that you see coming down. So that's their scent marking that they use from the facial area. And off he goes. Very nice. That is probably one of the longest Steenbok sightings I've had to date here at Safari Live. I'm very glad that we managed to catch up with that Steenbok. It's always nice when we see them. Now I'm going to go down and check the new road just to see if there isn't any sign of shadow and cub. I've not heard of anything over the last few days, so I just want to try and come and have a little look here. I haven't spent much time in this area, so it'll be nice just to drive and take it very slow and see if there isn't any tracks for them and check very nicely. Now, while we check our new road and see what's going on here, let's go back to Jamie Patterson in the Mara, who, as Taylor said, it must be reveling in being fashionably late this morning.
It must be something, yes. The Mara is, I'm not sure what Tristan said, but the Mara is something. It's wonderful. It's also devoid It is also slightly devoid of animal life at the present moment, but I am driving a road that I've never driven before, which is quite exciting. It's always an exciting experience to discover just how pleasant or unpleasant the road is going to be, depending on the amount of rain and the amount of mud that is available. Liam and I have just been talking about his experiences last night. One of the unexpected, we were talking about what has surprised us in the Mara, one of the unexpected, what would we call it, dangers of our camp has proved to be the safari ants that have all of a sudden invaded. And 2 nights ago it was poor Jared. They attacked his tent and me, actually, on my way to the bathroom. I thought I'd been stung by a bee, which I was confused by because it was pitch black and it's unusual. But I thought I'd been stung by a bee until I realized it was one of the safari ants attached to my toes. And I could not get it off. This thing had its jaws clamped so tightly. Eventually I had to pull its body off and then unpry its head from my toe. And people have been experiencing these safari ants all over their tents. VM last night had to move out and go and stay in Scott's tent. And we're discussing the need for a tent equivalent of a panic room if you happen to be on the unfortunate receiving end of the safari ants' attentions. The nice thing, though, is once they have invaded your tent and once they've decided to move out, your tent will be completely spotless. There will not be a crumb, a stain, nothing. They will clear that place out. Did they make your bed? Oh, wonderful. They even made VM's bed. It's like the world's best housekeeping service. With teeth. With teeth. VM apparently tried to warn Kirsty that she was also about to experience the invasion, but somehow she managed to survive. Oh, cute. Okay, no, we have to do this. Oh my goodness, that is so brand new. There are so many baby giraffe at the moment. Oh, look at you, little one. Did you just come out? Maybe not quite. Let's just stop here for a second, just in case it is a little bit scared. Let's gauge the age of this little thing. Oh, goodness gracious, but you are fresh. Look at it, its ossicones are still flat. That means it's basically less than a couple of days old. They stand up very quickly. Obviously baby giraffes stand very quickly. I meant their ossicones. All the horns on the top of their heads. Welcome to the Masai Mara, little one. Hello. Oh, but you are adorable. Oh, that's minute. A perfect opportunity for screenshots. Well done, Mum. Enjoying a meal. That baby's very new. I can't see if it's still wet, but my guess would be born last night, maybe? Maybe yesterday? Let's not exaggerate things. Oh, cool, that's so cute. Sorry, now I'm cooing. Not very professional, is it? Hi. You could not have been born at a better time, my little thing. Because there's so many wildebeest around, the lions aren't going to want to eat you. Touch wood. Hopefully. Let's see how it walks. Okay, nice and sturdy on its feet, but of course, all little animals like baby zebra, antelope, giraffe, they can all stand and walk within around about 20 minutes of their birth. Well done, Mummy. Look what you made. You made a little miniature. Little spotted thing. Yes, aren't you proud of yourself? Baby giraffe, of course, have one of the hardest entrances to the world, bar perhaps elephants. That 2-meter drop, because the females don't lie down to give birth, must be significantly traumatizing. What a way to enter the world. Welcome, thud. Let's go a bit closer. I'm going to inch closer, just because we can't zoom much more than we were. Nice and slow. It's okay, Mommy. We don't mean you no harm. She's very close to the hyena den, which isn't ideal. as a place to give birth. Okay, we're just going to have to do this slowly. Hello, Mum. It's okay. She's not going to respond to the tone of my voice or the fact that I'm talking to her at all. I'm doing that purely as a comfort to me, I think. Old habits. Elephants do respond, but things like giraffe do not. Or maybe they do. I don't know. Can't read their minds. Hello, my girl. Can we come and have a look at your baby, please? It's so perfect. Mrs. Zero, you'd like to know how much the baby would weigh. There we go. Let's have a stop here. And let's just get a look. Sometimes when you stop, the animal gets more uncomfortable than it would have otherwise. So, Mrs. Zero, you're looking at probably, I would guess, under 100 kilograms. So under 200 pounds. I think, if I remember correctly, giraffe babies are actually quite large when they're born. Unlike something like a rhino that sits at around about, when their babies are born, around about 40 kilograms. Oh, the wildebeest are coming back. There you go, baby. There at the back, that's the wildebeest on their way, returning. I would say that baby probably doesn't weigh much more than 50 kilograms, actually. That's brilliant news for our baby wildebeest, because it really does mean that the predators are not going to be interested in it. Look at its flopped forward ossicones. Oh, but you're adorable. They're actually, the longer you look at it, the more ridiculous it looks. It's adorable, but because it's on my mind, it actually kind of reminds me of the baby Groot in some bizarre way. But perhaps that's just because I've recently watched Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, yay, the wildebeest are returning. Yay! We don't have to go as far. We don't have to journey all the way to the ends of the earth. That's fantastic news. And it's great news for the baby giraffe, of course. I think Mummy's been so calm with us. She's not actually even looking at us. What are you looking at? I lost the sausages somewhere around here the other day. And they haven't had a meal of wildebeest in a while. What you staring at, girl? What have you seen? There's also a leopard in this area. Found a few carcasses. She's not looking at us at all. She's staring. Which direction is she staring in? Into this clump of... No sign of anything, but this thicket could easily hide a lion. I'm going to sit tight for a little bit and we'll answer Elizabeth's question first, which is, will the mother stay on her own or will she go and join a herd? Giraffe, they don't have a set herd structure, so most likely she will join up with some other females at safety in numbers. They don't have a strict herd structure, so a loose aggregation of females and males that come and go as they please. I suspect, though, with this little one being as tiny as it is, that she will go for safety in numbers. And there's more giraffe a little bit further away that we saw. Oh, your baby's beautiful. So beautiful. Does she show any signs? No, she doesn't look like she's just given birth. Okay. Oh, look at it go. Mom's decided whatever she's looking at. So that is why baby giraffe looks so disproportionate with their legs and their necks. They need to be able to suckle, but at the same time they need to be able to keep up with mum when she canters off like this. This is not going away from us, by the way. She's nervous of something in the thicket. She saw something there, and she's moving her baby away. You can see she's not looking at us. Oh, sweetheart. Tammy, yes, absolutely, a hyena could go after a baby giraffe. absolutely. Not a large... They wouldn't go after a big male giraffe or an adult fully grown giraffe unless what they could do, and I've noticed them doing it in this particular area, is unless they chase it up onto rocks. And obviously that causes the giraffe to fall down, and then they would be able to kill an adult giraffe. But baby giraffe, newly born, absolutely. I think that would probably be the biggest danger, especially because most animals time their births, not always, but most of them try to time their births after the sort of early morning, so that most of the predators are relatively sleepy. But hyenas, and actually, to be fair, in this area, lions as well, are still active throughout the day, especially on a cold, windy day. She's still looking back. Kitty, kitty? I don't want to see this. I don't want to see a baby giraffe hunt. I'd be devastated. But she has spotted something. It might just be a little bit of paranoia in the wind. I mean, it's windy. She's got a brand new baby to look after. Now she's looking past us. Now she's looking at us. Lisa, as a general trend, no, it's actually the other way around. Typically, and bear in mind that there will be a genetic aspect to this as well, just like you get people with darker hair and lighter hair. But typically, giraffe get darker with age. So they will be born quite light, and then they'll get darker as they grow older. And you see that particularly in the males. Obviously, they do look dark when they're first born, and that's just because they're damp. But no, typically they'll be a bit lighter than the adults. Okay, we're going to leave this little one. I don't know what's distressing Mum, but I want to just do a quick loop around and check. But I also don't want her to feel under pressure with something that small. Okay, gorgeous girl. Thank you for that wonderful sighting. We're going to say farewell. Let's send you back across to Tristan to see whether the vulture's nest hides any more tiny creatures.